Welcome back to Inside Politics. We're focusing today on the upcoming presidential debate, which is coming up on Monday night. We have Larry Woods on the Democratic side and Bill Phillips on the Republican side to talk about it. So, gentlemen, when it starts Monday night, is the fur going to fly? Is it going to start? The fisticuffs going to start verbally, at least, right from the very beginning?
I assume it's like boxing. There'll be a prelim before we get on the air, where they'll be shouting at each other on the stage. I mean, I'm going to be stunned if Trump doesn't come out blasting with everything he's got. It's his only chance.
Yeah, I suspect that the Clinton camp is trying to find the way to nudge him into going ballistic, which is very unpresidential, and hoping that he'll do that, but also hoping that Mrs. Clinton won't start taking it personally herself. So.
And all of us know how debate prep works. We as an audience, we don't see the full speeches Trump or Clinton give, but each of them have got copies and videotapes of it, so they know the introductory phrases each opponent uses, and therefore they'll figure out how to nudge and how to tease into a particular avenue of approach.
I think everybody knows how you lose a debate. You say something wrong, you look at your watch, you sigh, you do various things that go down in history of being that was not what you should have done. But we're going to make it into a cottage industry next week about who won this debate and why and what happens now. So how is an audience out there going to be able to judge at the end of this who did win or who didn't win the debate, when usually most of the people tuning in already know who they're going to vote for, and this is just going to reinforce what they already thought?
You know, your number one objective in the debate is control what the media headline lead story will be that night and the next morning. And if one of the candidates does control and shape the message, then clearly the media is going to lead the nation to believe that candidate won. If it's a toss-up for whose message gets out in the media, then we'll all have to wait 2 or 3 days for the polls to say what people thought. But the polls are going to follow the media headlines.
And I think the audience Monday night is going to be a little untraditional in that both candidates have such high negatives that they may not know who they're going to vote for, and Monday night they'll determine who am I going to vote against.
One other question I'll ask you about being the moderator for this, if you're Lester Holt. There's been some talk about what role the moderator ought to play in terms of fact-checking. Chris Wallace, who's going to moderate one later, said he didn't really think that was necessarily his job to do, to sort of fact-check in real time. And when you do fact-check as a moderator, having done a couple, at least on the local levels, it tends to bog down the thing and it tends to get down in the weeds pretty quickly. So what should Lester Holt do? Should he allow either candidate to basically say things that just aren't true?
Can I say I agree with Donald Trump on something here? Sarah Lee, please let me come home. You know what I'm saying? I heard Mr. Trump say we ought to do this debate with no moderator. And he's right. We ought to just have a rule. Each candidate gets 3 minutes. They'll flip a coin for who starts. All right, Hillary, you get the first 3 minutes. Donald, you get the next 3. I don't think Holt or any moderator ought to be fact-checking in real time. That leads to mistakes and errors and subjective judgments that wind up not being fair.
One other question about how this is being set up. Does anybody know what it's going to look like on stage? Is it going to be the moderator here and the one candidate over here, one candidate over there? Or are they all going to be around those, which they've done before in presidential debates? Everybody sits around almost a little circular table, and they're literally pretty close to each other physically. Is it going to make a difference where everybody is sort of positioned for that night, Bill?
Well, that is heavily negotiated, as you know.
But I haven't heard it announced what it's going to be yet.
And if I were in the Trump camp negotiating, I would want to be at the small table because it doesn't bother him, but it will bother other candidates. And so, but I have not seen how it's going to be.
Usually a small table limits the kind of personal invective that Mr. Trump's famous for, but I agree with you. I don't think it'll limit Donald Trump for a second, so in that sense it makes less difference with these two candidates.
There's been a lot of talk during this campaign when Donald Trump says something, they say, well, that's just Trump being Trump. But Larry, I never hear that said about Hillary Clinton. Nobody ever says, well, that's Hillary Clinton being Hillary Clinton. Is this debate going to be judged fairly by both candidates, or is there going to be a little bit of a lean because Trump is going to be Trump, so whatever he says is going to be discounted, at least as far as being something he shouldn't have done, as much as Clinton may be catching a little bit more because she's supposed to be on a higher level to begin with?
I think if it's a fairly judged debate by debate standards, Hillary's going to win 100-1. But it's not that kind of debate, and that's not what the audience and the public is going to react to. Again, it's going to be more showmanship, and the media tries hard to hold their feet to the fire, and the media never wins that battle. So I'm not sure how the media then can evaluate and should evaluate what happens.
So, Bill, is it over after the first debate? Whoever loses is in a world of hurt. How does somebody come back if you happen to be the candidate, whether it's Trump or Clinton, that comes back after losing the first debate?
No, I don't think it's over necessarily. It depends on the candidates, because you had Ronald Reagan in '84. Had a terrible first debate, and he came back and blew it out of the charts, and it was over. And what did he win?
President Obama had a poor first debate in the re-election campaign.
Larry Woods, thank you for being with us. Bill Phillips, thank you as well. Enjoy the debate Monday night, and we'll see what happens, and probably have you back again sometime in the future to talk about the campaign.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hoping to be back here again for a future show. If you can't get into politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.